Ever wondered how to whip up the perfect fettuccine carbonara? Well, you're in the right place. This classic Italian dish, originating from Rome, has won over the hearts and stomachs of food enthusiasts worldwide. Its magic lies in its simplicity, a harmonious blend of a few quality ingredients: fettuccine pasta, rich egg yolks, crispy guanciale, and a generous sprinkle of pecorino romano and parmigiano reggiano cheeses. What makes fettuccine carbonara unique is its creamy yet creamless sauce, a culinary paradox that leaves everyone intrigued and craving for more. It's a dish that celebrates the essence of Italian cuisine, focusing on fresh, high-quality ingredients and the mastery of combining them to create an explosion of flavors. It's a favorite among many, for not only its tantalizing taste, but also the joy and art of its preparation. So are you ready to dive into the world of pasta mastery? Stay tuned to learn the secrets behind crafting the perfect fettuccine carbonara. The secret to a great dish always lies in its ingredients. No truer words have been spoken, especially when it comes to the classic fettuccine carbonara. This dish is a symphony of flavors, each ingredient playing its part to create a masterpiece. First off, we have our star player, the fettuccine. This type of pasta is flat and thick, perfect for holding on to our creamy sauce. It's the canvas on which we'll paint our culinary masterpiece. Next, we have the guanciale. This is a type of Italian cured meat made from pork jowl or cheeks. Its rich and intense flavor adds depth to our dish, and it's also responsible for that irresistible aroma that wafts out of the pan. Then we have the pecorino romano cheese. This is a hard, salty Italian cheese made out of sheep's milk. It's going to add an indulgent, creamy texture to our sauce, and a sharp, tangy flavor that's going to contrast beautifully with the rich guanciale. We'll also need fresh eggs. These are going to help create that velvety, creamy texture that carbonara is known for. We're using just the yolks here, as they're richer and thicker than the whites. Garlic and black pepper are our supporting actors. The garlic will infuse our guanciale with a subtle, savory flavor, while the black pepper will add just the right amount of kick to our dish. And finally, we need good quality olive oil. This is going to help cook our guanciale to crispy perfection, and also add a subtle, fruity note to our dish. Each of these ingredients has a role to play, and they all come together to create a dish that's so much more than the sum of its parts. It's a culinary ballet, with each ingredient dancing in perfect harmony with the others. Now that we have our ingredients ready, it's time to get started with the cooking process. First off, we start with the pasta, the star of our dish. The choice of pasta is crucial in Italian cuisine, and for our fettuccine carbonara, needless to say, we are going with fettuccine. This flat, thick pasta is perfect for holding on to our rich and creamy sauce. Now, let's get to cooking this pasta. Starting with a large pot of boiling water, add a generous handful of sea salt. Remember, the water should taste like the sea, giving our pasta a subtle yet necessary flavor. Here's where the magic starts. Drop in your fettuccine and give it a quick stir to prevent any sticking. While our pasta is beginning its transformation, let's talk about the importance of cooking pasta al dente. Al dente is an Italian phrase that translates to the tooth. This means the pasta should be cooked just enough to retain a firm bite. The reason we want this for our carbonara is twofold. Firstly, it provides a delightful contrast to our creamy sauce, adding a necessary texture to the dish. Secondly, the pasta will continue to cook when mixed with the hot guanciale and sauce later, ensuring it doesn't become overcooked and mushy. Back to our pot now. Keep an eye on your pasta. Every brand and type of pasta has a different cooking time, but for our fettuccine, it should take about 10 to 12 minutes to reach the perfect al dente texture. Test a piece by taking a bite. It should have a slight resistance, a bit of a bite, and it certainly shouldn't be hard or crunchy. Once our pasta reaches this stage, drain it promptly, but remember to save a cup of the pasta water. This starchy water is a secret weapon in Italian cuisine, perfect for adjusting the consistency of our sauce later. With our pasta perfectly cooked, we move to the next step. Scene script. Next, we're going to prepare the guanciale, a crucial part of our carbonara. Now, what is guanciale, you may ask? It's a type of Italian cured meat made from pork jowl or cheeks. Its flavor is stronger than other pork products such as pancetta, and its texture is more delicate. Guanciale is the traditional choice for authentic carbonara, contributing a unique depth of flavor to the dish. So let's get started. First, we need to slice the guanciale into lardons. That's a fancy word for thick strips. You want these to be about 1/4 of an inch thick. Yes, a bit chunkier than you might expect. But trust me, you want to experience that crispy yet slightly chewy texture in the final dish. Once we've got our guanciale sliced, it's time to cook it. And here's where the magic happens. Heat a large pan over medium heat. No need for any oil here, as the guanciale will render its own fat. Add the guanciale to the pan and let it slowly cook. This is not a process you want to rush. As the guanciale cooks, it will start to release its fat. This is called rendering. Rendering is important for 2 reasons. First, it's going to give us a beautifully crispy guanciale. And second, that rendered fat is packed with flavor, and we're going to use it to cook our pasta in a bit. You'll see that it adds a wonderful depth to the entire dish. Keep an eye on the guanciale as it cooks. You want it to reach a golden brown color, but be careful not to let it burn. Once it's done, remove it from the pan and set it aside. But don't discard that fat in the pan. We're going to need it. With our guanciale cooked to perfection, we're ready to move on to the sauce. So stay tuned, because the best is yet to come. Now, let's whip up the creamy, delicious sauce that makes carbonara so irresistible. First things first, we're going to crack 2 large, fresh eggs into a bowl. We're using the whole egg here, both the yolk and the white. This is the very foundation of our sauce, providing it with richness and body. Next, we're going to incorporate a generous handful of freshly grated pecorino romano cheese into the eggs. This cheese is a fundamental part of traditional carbonara. It's sharp, tangy, and slightly salty, which balances perfectly with the rich, creamy eggs. Now, it's time to season. We're going to add a good pinch of freshly cracked black pepper. This might seem like a small detail, but it's key to achieving that classic carbonara flavor. The pepper adds a subtle heat and a touch of complexity, elevating the sauce to new heights. Once we've got our ingredients in the bowl, it's time to whisk. We're going to whisk it until it's well combined, smooth and creamy. The eggs, cheese and pepper should all meld together into a single, unified sauce. Now here's a crucial part. We need to ensure that our sauce doesn't scramble when we add it to the hot pasta. So we're going to temper it first. This involves gradually introducing a bit of the hot pasta water to the sauce, whisking constantly. This will slowly raise the temperature of the sauce, preventing it from curdling or scrambling when it hits the heat. The result should be a silky, glossy sauce that clings beautifully to our pasta. It should be thick enough to coat the back of a spoon, but not so thick that it turns clumpy. If it looks too thick, simply add a bit more pasta water until you reach the desired consistency. Now that our sauce is ready, it's time to bring everything together. We've reached the final and most exciting part, assembling our fettuccine carbonara. Take a deep breath and let's dive into this culinary symphony. Remember, the art of cooking is not just about following a recipe, but about feeling and understanding the ingredients. Firstly, grab your freshly cooked fettuccine. It should still be hot and slightly al dente. Now, carefully add the sizzling guanciale. That's the Italian pork cheek we cooked earlier, remember? It's loaded with flavor and its own rendered fat, which will add a rich, savory element to our dish. Next, it's time to introduce our pasta and guanciale to the delightful sauce we prepared. This sauce, made from egg yolks, pecorino romano, and freshly ground black pepper, is the heart and soul of our fettuccine carbonara. Pour it over the pasta and guanciale mixture. Now this is crucial. Do not pour the sauce when the pasta is piping hot. If you do, you'll end up with scrambled eggs instead of a creamy sauce. So patience is key. Now let's talk about mixing. Use a pair of tongs and gently fold the ingredients together. The goal is to coat every strand of fettuccine with our luscious sauce and distribute the guanciale evenly. Be gentle, we don't want to break the pasta. It's not a wrestling match, it's more like a delicate waltz. Once everything is well combined, take a moment to admire your creation. The creamy sauce clinging to the pasta, the guanciale adding a touch of crunch and that extra burst of flavor. You should be proud. You've just created a dish that's not only mouth-wateringly delicious, but also carries the tradition and history of Italian cuisine. And there you have it, a beautifully assembled fettuccine carbonara. It's more than just a dish. It's a testament to your culinary prowess and a delicious journey you've embarked on. Now, get ready for the best part, the tasting. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the presentation and tasting. The art of plating is as important as the cooking process itself. When it comes to fettuccine carbonara, simplicity is key. Start by twisting a serving of the pasta around a large fork to create a neat nest. Place this in the center of a warm plate. The heat from the plate will help to keep your dish warm, enhancing the overall taste. Next, sprinkle a generous amount of freshly grated pecorino cheese over the pasta. The heat from the pasta will slightly melt the cheese, adding another layer of flavor and texture. After that, strategically place pieces of the crispy guanciale on top. The contrast between the creamy pasta and the crunchy guanciale is a sight to behold and a delight to the palate. A pinch of freshly ground black pepper adds a nice color contrast and a punch of flavor. Lastly, garnish with a sprig of fresh parsley. The green against the creamy white and the golden brown of the guanciale creates a beautiful color palette that is pleasing to the eyes. Now, onto the tasting. As the fork twirls the pasta, the creamy sauce, the cheese, and the guanciale all come together in a symphony of flavors. The first bite is a revelation. The smooth, creamy sauce coats the pasta perfectly. The salty, crispy guanciale adds a pleasing crunch, while the pecorino cheese lends a subtle tanginess that elevates the dish. As the flavors meld, you can't help but appreciate the perfect balance of this dish. It's not overly rich, but it's incredibly satisfying. The pasta is cooked to perfection, al dente, just the way it should be. The guanciale is crispy, salty, and full of flavor. The sauce, it's creamy, velvety, and absolutely divine. A dish that looks good and tastes even better. That's the magic of fettuccine carbonara. Let's take a moment to look back at what we've accomplished today. We've traversed the scenic landscape of Italian cuisine and arrived at a delicious destination, fettuccine carbonara, a dish as rich in flavor as it is in history. We started our culinary journey by understanding our ingredients: the fettuccine pasta, the essence of our dish, the guanciale, that Italian cured meat that adds an unparalleled depth of flavor, and of course the Parmigiano Reggiano and Pecorino Romano cheeses that bring a rich, nutty taste that's impossible to resist. The pasta preparation came next, boiling it in salted water until it reached that perfect state of al dente, firm but not hard. A key point to remember here is to save some of that starchy pasta water, a secret weapon in our sauce. Then came the guanciale, cooked until crispy and its fat rendered to add a smoky flavor to our pasta. The trick here is patience, letting the guanciale slowly release its flavors. The sauce, a simple yet essential component, was next. A mix of egg yolks, cheese, and black pepper, whisked together until creamy. The trick to a smooth sauce? Adding some of that saved pasta water to achieve the right consistency. Our final act of creation was the assembly, mixing the pasta with the guanciale, tossing it in the egg and cheese sauce, ensuring every strand of fettuccine was coated, and serving it while hot, garnished with a sprinkle of cheese and a crack of black pepper. The result? A plate of fettuccine carbonara that would make any Italian nonna proud. The key, as always, lies in the quality of your ingredients and the care you put into each step of the process. Remember, the secret to a great fettuccine carbonara lies in the quality of your ingredients and the care you put into each step. Happy cooking!